I do. Yeah.
Singaporean Chinese.
Well, I'm Singaporean Chinese as well, by the way. But it's just
But can you speak Chinese? You can't.
no, I can't. I'm a AC school kid. If you know the stereotype.
Is it ACSI?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was Hua Chong, so a little bit more to the Chinese side.
Yeah, I'm a
So
Chinese scholar. That's why I'm from China. Yeah, Chinese is my mother tongue. Yeah.
yeah. I'm the odd one out here. Um, hey everybody who's tuned in. My name is Zen, and I'm one of the co-founders of Web3 Off. And I'm joined by both Ben as well as Irene from SoulCall, both co-founders. Um, Perhaps thanks so much for tuning in onto this Twitter space, and thanks Ari for setting this up. So today we're just going to cover a couple of questions. Cover a couple of. We're going to run through SoCall about the token creator economy, and we'd love to just dive into the conversation and get your thoughts on some of the really up and coming things in the NFT creator space, and how you guys are thinking about the social token economy as well, and how SoCall plays into all of that. So super excited to be understanding that a little bit more today on this call. So perhaps just I could start with an introduction with a slight introduction of Web3 Off, and then we can just dive right in. How does that sound, guys?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Fantastic. So what Web3 Off does, guys, is we're kind of like Auth0, but for Web3. We essentially replace seed phrases on both wallets as well as applications in the form of a pluggable SDK. If you've ever seen like games like Skyweaver, or used the Binance Chrome extension wallet, or used the Kepler wallet in Cosmos, you would have experienced with an application that has Web3 Off integrated. Web3 Off basically replaces the seed phrase on these applications with a social login, be it passwordless, email, Google, Reddit, Discord, any of these, in a non-custodial manner by a off-chain multisig. So that's what basically Web3 Off does, and let's dive right in. So we've got a couple of questions to start off with, and the first one, how about we go through? Do you guys want to go through introductions as well, like on a personal level? How did you guys meet? How do you guys found SoCall, and how did you guys come to be co-founders?
Yeah, maybe Irene, you
Yeah, I
start
will
first, and then
do a
I'll
short
talk about it.
introduction about
Yeah.
myself. Yeah. So, hi guys, I'm Irene, the co-founder of SoCo, and I have been an Instagram influencer for the past 6 years. So right now I have about like 500,000 followers across Instagram, Twitter space. Yeah, among the top 10 influencers in Singapore. So during that process, I built kind of good personal relationship with a lot of big brands. I also have a pretty strong influencer network in Southeast Asia. So I entered into crypto space earlier last year, and after I started my Web3 journey, I have come to realize that actually many of the pain points for Web2 social media platforms can be addressed by Web3 technology, and that's why we came up with SoCode, the project where all of the creators on traditional platforms are able to convert their existing content as NFTs, because we feel there is a huge opportunity here for us to create a game changer. Yeah, Ben, want to talk about how we met in 2016? Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So my background is a little bit different from Irene. I used to be a national athlete. Because when I was in Hua Chong, right, you were talking about ACSI. I guess you guys are also very strong in track and field. When I was in Hua Chong, I was super into track and field. I was basically like training like 11 times a day all the time.
Wow.
And I was actually like a middle distance runner. But eventually I actually represented Singapore for like a regional event, and I realized that look, there are actually a lot of better opportunities out there. So what I did during my national service time, I mean, this is just a huge opportunity cost, right? There's so many things exciting with like coding.
It is indeed. I tell you, so for those of you guys who don't know, and who don't know about Singapore, Singapore has mandatory national service for 2 years for guys. I had to go through that as well. Ben, what were you during national service?
I was a infantry platoon commander at the BMTC. Yeah.
That's quite a rough posting, isn't it?
No, it's actually the best posting possible. I mean, the thing is that during the training to become an officer, it is a little bit tougher. But the thing is
Mhm.
that once you become an officer, I guess it's more of like a managerial role, right? It's more of like a leadership kind
Mm,
of experience. I really
mm,
enjoyed it because I think especially for my posting in BMTC, I guess we get to kind of like firstly we get to experience like training with a lot of different groups of people. Every single batch is like some people are like maybe high school dropouts. Another batch is like polytechnic
yep, yep.
kids, and then another batch is like JC. So you really get to see like people from all walks of life, and all of them have different motivations. All of them have like different reasons why they're doing things, right? Why they're over there in the army. And I thought that was a really really interesting kind of experience for me. Yeah. So yeah, so anyway, I actually got into even before that, right? Even in high school, I was also just dabbling a little bit in the technology because
Hmm.
in high school I was like doing Fiverr and doing like web scraping. I was doing like
I see,
WordPress
I see, I
websites and
see,
stuff like that. So that was
I
actually how
see.
I first got into coding. But when I was in the army, and also another good thing about being an officer, right, is that you actually have an office, so you actually have an office and you actually have like a computer. So I was like picking up computer science at a site, right, when I had time, and I actually did a few small apps and projects when I came out, and these projects eventually got me into an accelerator in this that was organized by the Singapore government. At the point of time, they were called Infocom Investments, and it did like a accelerator program. Now they're called
Hmm.
SG Innovate, right? If you know about the, I
I
mean,
see, I
yeah,
see, I see.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is when? This was like in
This was
2019.
2016. This was 2016.
Ah,
So
okay,
this was
okay.
6 years ago. And this is actually how I met Irene, because Irene was actually interviewing for another startup, which was within the same co-working space. So, I mean, all these accelerator
Oh,
programs. Yeah. It was a very nice co-working space. It's actually at Block 71. It's called Bash. Yeah, yeah. So we were
it's the
both in the
NUS
same.
one, is it?
Yes, yes, it's NUS one. But the thing is, the NUS one, they have like most of their stuff within like the kind of like office complex kind of thing, right? There was like a office complex, and then there was like
Yep,
a bunch of like
yep.
really really brutalist concrete, like just just not much decoration, and
Yes,
then
yes, like
they
bare
just rent them.
bones. You know, those hip cafes nowadays always like
Yeah,
bare
yeah, yeah,
concrete, that
yeah.
kind of look.
Yeah, yeah. So that is block 77. Oh, wait. I think yeah, that's block 71, and then we were at block 77, which was a bit more renovated, a little bit more fancy. Because obviously this is by the government, and they use this to kind of host events and things like that. So yeah, so Irene was actually interviewing for another startup over there. And because it was within a same co-working space, we always hang out, and then that was how I actually first got to know Irene. And somehow we just became like a best friends since 6 years ago. And when I first met Irene, she actually only had 300 followers on Instagram.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it has been a long while since then. But if you look at like the photos, like a lot of the photos, especially the older ones, I have been the person behind a lot of these photos, and then
I
we
see,
basically
I
did a
see, I
lot of
see.
these campaigns, social media campaigns, working
So
with
you
like.
guys have been working together for a long time now, actually.
Yeah, for the past 6 years, basically, right? And we kind of seen, because you have to be in a space, right? The influencer space. You have to go and attend events. You have to go
Hmm.
and like work on advertisements for companies, or basically all of these major brands in Southeast Asia. So that's where our experience within the creator economy, like the creator, the influencer space, basically come from, right?
Hmm.
And I guess because we have been with doing this for like so long, right, over the past 6 years, we kind of observe like the kind of trends, the kind of ways that people are kind of monetizing right now. From in the past, it was almost exclusively ads, and even like the influencer marketing infrastructure, right, wasn't really built out. Now influencer marketing is like, now all brands think that it is a thing. Last time it wasn't even a thing, right? And now
Yep,
we're kind of
yep,
seeing this thing also shift towards different kinds of models, like memberships and things like that.
yep.
So that was how I actually met Irene. So afterwards, we actually did a startup together 6 years ago. It was a AI startup, that was a AI advertising technology startup. So we actually did
I
something that
see.
analyzes people's faces, whatever. And we actually got funded by the Korean government. So we flew to Korea, and then afterwards we came back to Singapore. Irene went to join an iron ore trading company. I was scouted by BNP Paribas. I became like the youngest ever PhD level quant. Basically my specialty was using AI NLP to analyze annual reports, earnings call transcripts to generate signals for the traders, the
I
sales, the
see, I
clients.
see.
Yeah.
Was it
Um.
also sentiment analysis on research reports?
Yeah. It's I think sentiment analysis is a small part, because sentiment is actually very difficult to identify. especially since we were doing on text data, and most of the time when you look at annual reports and earnings call transcripts, they tend to talk in a very neutral thing. I think what we were looking for was that we wanted to find an automated way to actually like detect certain events like intends to do stock buyback or like things like that. Things that could potentially signal like an event over there. The whole
100%.
idea is that these are not very complicated events, but the thing is that if let's say your algorithm can actually scan it like just seconds after it's published, right? Then you have like you have some edge over there because you can be the first one to reach out to the client, etc. So that was what we are doing. I was like it was a decent experience. But overall, in the end, I still wanted to do startups. Oh, and
Yep.
by the way, I because I was doing all of these things, right? I was like going to Korea to do a startup, and then I was like doing joining the investment bank, the trading floor. I
Yep.
didn't get to go to university at all. Over time, I actually planned to go, but I never found time to go. So, so
It's okay. University's overrated. I'm a dropout as well.
oh yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's cool. So anyway, the thing is that afterwards, a VC kind of contacted me to go back to do startups again, and that was what I did. I dropped. I basically left the bank. I went to do startups again, but unfortunately, 2 years ago, the
This was the
startup that
AI startup, or this is a different
no,
startup?
this is a different startup. So this is like
I
my
see. I
second
see. I
major
see.
startup, and
I
unfortunately,
see.
this was 2 years ago, and I picked travel as a vertical. So I took the VC's money, and we basically built a multi-day tour platform that was like the largest database of multi-day tours within Southeast Asia. The only
Yeah,
problem was that
yeah,
it was
yeah. So, so
the COVID
basically,
time.
me and Ben, we failed many times before we started Soko. Yeah, so this is not really our first company. I think we've been doing like 5, 6 projects before this. Yeah,
It's always this way. It's
yeah, but
it's
this is our
try
first
try
time
and
doing
fail.
it. Yeah,
Yep.
like we've been
It's
like working really hard in the Web 2 space, but after I entered into like Web 3 space early last year, and I told Ben that crypto is so fascinating, it's really calm, and we have to do a project in this
hmm
space.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah, yeah.
So
Actually, I was
I
the first
see.
one to ask Irene to do this so-called idea, right? So I because I actually invested in crypto back in 2016, but I was just an observer, and also because I was on a trading floor. So that was basically I can't trade stocks and things like that. So I was kind of like just observing the crypto space. And back in January, February last year, I actually came to Irene with this idea on Soko. But Irene at the point of time, she was still working as the CMO of Konomi. So she didn't really have bandwidth to kind of like work on another project. Also at the point of time, I was still doing my travel startup, right? But fast forward to like last October, I was like, still nobody has been doing this because like logically speaking, right? When I saw in January like NFTs were starting to take off, I was like, the most logical thing for this is like a social use case, right? And then that was something that I proposed to Irene, that we should do something like that because this is kind of like a kind of solution for a lot of the problems that we're seeing right within the creative
So
space over the past six years.
tell me
Yeah.
about the solution. Tell me more about the solution. So what particular angle does the so-called take with NFTs and the social
Yeah.
crypto economy?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll talk about the problem first, and then afterwards I'll talk about a little bit of a bigger observation of crypto and NFTs
For
from
sure, please.
our observation. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think the problem that we're trying to solve over here is that if you look at influencers, right, even if they have 500,000 followers, 1 million followers on Instagram, then you can't really make money directly on Instagram at this point of time, right? And the thing is that the only way that you can make money is by actually doing advertisements, by selling products, things that basically dilute your content, right? People feel that you're selling out. And the thing
Yes.
is that there's a
Yes.
huge middleman in the middle. If let's say there's a huge middleman, if let's say this brand pays you like $1,000 to make a post, they're expecting to make back like $10,000, right? From that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
your followers, if they want to support you, they just buy these kind of products that you don't even believe in, that they don't really believe in. It's a very inefficient
Right.
way to support your favorite creator. So what we've seen over the past couple of years, it is the membership platforms, right? Like Patreon, right? That actually kind of took off,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I'm sure like all of these kind of membership subscription based platforms. These kind of solve the problem where it's like a slightly more direct way, right, where the fans can actually give money to the creator. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem with this is that this is not the best relationship to have with your fans. The thing is that if you look at the way that is that this kind of relationship is, it's very transactional. The value only goes one way, where the creator creates premium content, exclusive content, and the fans pay money in return, right?
Yep.
So this is not the best relationship you want to have with your fans. In fact, a lot of fans, from experience, a lot of fans want to get involved, right? The fans
Yep.
want to be closer to the creators. They want to get engaged. They want to get involved. But there is not like a really a strong way for them to do it. Like if let's say your patron fans kind of like banded together and did like a partnership for you, it will in fact feel very weird, right? So we wanted to kind of prove that using NFTs with Web3 technology, we can actually change this dynamic where value does not flow just one way, but value flow both ways. So I think what most people have seen is our proof of concept project, right, which is IreneDAO, right? And the idea behind
Yep,
IreneDAO
that's
is
been
that
fantastic.
yeah,
I
so
couldn't
so
I couldn't
we
get one myself because my girlfriend was behind me the whole time, but I would if I could.
yeah.
I will send one IreneDAO to your secret wallet. Just send me your secret wallet and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll send
I'll do a private one.
you. I will send you 10. Okay.
Yeah. So I think Irene now is really an experiment because when we first started doing Web3 social, right? I think there have been a lot of platforms that try to do this, and a lot
Yep.
of them, okay. So this is my observation is that a lot of these kind of platforms you see play to earn, you see like all of
Yep.
these social Web3 whatever,
Yep.
most of them are just DeFi in disguise. There is no actual proper Web3 kind of application like Web3 native application, right? So, but the thing
Mm-hmm.
is that a lot of people didn't really believe us because they look at projects that have raised like way more, like 100 times more of what we have raised, and like way more marketing, so much more money, and they haven't been able to kind of get a significant audience onto their Web3 platforms. So we wanted to kind of prove like, hey, look, it's not that Web3 social doesn't work. It's just that people have been doing it wrong. Web3 social should not be like a wrapper around DeFi. So what we did was that we did 1,107 NFTs, the IreneDAO passes, right? We gave it out for free, right? And in fact, we'll think that we made a lot of money doing this. We didn't make any money. In fact, we lost money because we still need to deploy the contract, right? The gas
Mm-hmm.
fees. So yeah, if you think about it, so what happened was that we actually deployed this, and then after we gave it out for free, there was like a free mint on our website, and basically having this pass allows you to become a member of the DAO, right? One
Mm-hmm.
pass is one vote, right? And then after that, some of the members they can actually do proposals, they can discuss what they want to do, etc., etc., right? And I
Mm-hmm.
thought this was a very, very interesting thing because once we actually had the members within the platform, right, within within like minutes, people were starting to propose partnerships, right? For example, like the Gozali partnership, there were members in the Indonesia that kind of helped us to work on this partnership. People kind of came together, they volunteered to kind of work, they did like a
The
constitution.
Ghazali part.
Yeah, the Gozali partnership. So as in Gozali is now, as in we definitely want to do a partnership with him. I guess Irene can comment on the Gozali thing. She has been trying to talk to Gozali. um but yeah, the interesting thing was that people were actually taking initiative to actually kind of like propose projects, and kind of like and there was a much larger engagement behind them. And I think what is interesting is that this gives us a glimpse into how the future of like the interaction between creators and fans could potentially be, because this kind of opens up a model where the value is not just a one-way flow created by creators and then passed over to the fans. Now the fans actually have a method to the fans actually have a method to create value within themselves, and also as a community they can also contribute to the creator, right? So I think that there are a lot of potential between this. So partnerships is definitely one that I think is very, very interesting. For example, like if let's say there are a lot of Gozali fans, like there is a mix, right? Like the people who are fans of Gozali are also fans of Irene. They will be very incentivized to kind of like work together within the community to get a partnership like that happening. Another thing that I see that the huge potential for this is that a lot of creators, they want to do good, right? They want to kind of donate to certain causes, and maybe women's charities, or maybe like environmental causes and things like that. Right now, the only way is like for the creator to kind of just post on their social media and say like, oh yeah, you guys should just donate to like environmental causes and stuff like that, right? The thing is, of course, people can donate individually, but the thing is that if let's say you kind of take the DAO funds, right, and you kind of donate as a community, it is a lot more meaningful because now people feel that they're part of a movement, right? People feel that they're like I can say that, oh, I voted to basically get this partnership going. I was the one that created this proposal that eventually these two creators were working together, and then they produced this song. I was there when we actually did a proposal to support this charity and these environmental causes and things like that. People feel involved. I think it is a better way for people to feel involved. In fact, and they do, right? It's a way for the fans to kind of engage and get involved in the process, rather than just on one way flow where it's always just the creator creating premium content and the fans paying money for that. So yeah. So that was the whole idea and the whole experiment that we wanted to test. And I think IreneDAO was like, just a very rudimentary example of that. But I think the back to your point. Wait, Jen, are you still here?
Yeah, Zen is just
Jen.
joining us back. Please continue,
Yep.
Ben. Zen's app crash. He's just joining.
Yeah, he
He's
went
there.
back to
He's
check his wallet if I had sent him Eric.
there.
Yeah. Hey,
Hey,
Jen.
I apologize. Twitter Spaces kind of crashed on me there. It does so every once in a while, but we left off, we cut off at a point where we talk about how people were starting to advocate and propose ideas like the Gonzali partnership, and how that was fantastic as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just wrap up the ending part. I talk about a lot more, but basically I think this is actually a glimpse, right? It's a glimpse for us into what the future of the creator economy could look like, right? Because it is a way where value is both ways. Fans create value within themselves as a community, right? People can create proposals, right? People can actually say like, okay, let's actually donate a portion of the royalties to environmental causes, to women's charities, right? Of course they can donate individually, but actually donating as a DAO kind of makes it into a movement, right? People
Yeah,
feel membership. They
it's
can
like
this
there's,
NFT
there's
as
a form of camaraderie around it, isn't there?
yeah, exactly. Because one of the things that we are looking at in terms of NFTs, right, was that all these profile picture projects, people were kind of like forming communities around it, right? So let's say like people who own Bored Ape, they follow each other, right? And then now people who own Azuki, they follow each other, things like that. There's always been a community aspect of NFTs, right? But what we're doing over here is that we're putting the community, the membership aspect first, right? And then the second one is also because by holding this NFT, you can kind of show everybody that like, look, I'm a holder of this NFT, I'm part of this DAO, right? I was there when this creator did this partnership. I was the one who initiated this proposal for these two creators to work together. I'm actually part of the process. I was there when all of these things happened, right? And it basically
Yeah,
allows fans to have like a much closer interaction, much more engagement with the creator than before.
yeah. I can definitely see that, and I mean, it's definitely been a great kind of proof of concept, or more than a proof of concept for sure. The IreneDAO. For those of you who haven't, heard of it or haven't checked it out, definitely do. Definitely become part of it as well. And so if you, there are a lot of social use cases, right? For example,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about social, let's say just on Patreon, right? In the Web2 space,
Yep.
or even like, let's say social on Instagram. Instagram didn't start out as like a arena in which you could monetize, but then advertising just kind of seeped into it. And then similarly with Patreon, there are a lot of different ways people actually use it. Some of them is in the simplest way of like content or written content that is like blocked off. But then sometimes there's like crowdfunding for certain initiatives. I've been on some modder communities where like I'm a big fan of like a certain tactics game, and in order to get a
Yep.
mod funded for it, I would crowdfund and pay more in a particular month. And that's a very different use case. Like it's a crowdfunding use case relative to like a gated firewall use case. So like uh, I think we've seen proposals and DAOs and voting be a lot more transparent in the so-called and a bit more enabled in the so-called arena, or in the
Yep.
so-called like influencer economy. What would you say are like, I don't know, the next like top two use cases that you've seen really pan out of this?
Yeah, so some of the very interesting things is that if you think about because we started off this for creators, right? And I think you correctly mentioned that this actually has a lot of potential for all the creators to kind of like this is basically a better version of whatever the Web 2 kind of things can do, right? It's better engagement, everything is better. But if you think about it, all of these fan groups, like all of these creator DAOs, they're basically special interest groups, except that the special interest is a particular person, right? If you think about it, you could actually have special interest groups where the special interest is something else, like maybe it's an environmental causes, maybe like they want to have like an investment thesis, and then they want to kind of co-invest together, and we're seeing a lot of these kind of like DAO investment clubs, right, where people are actually kind of forming all of these. So I
Yes.
think these are actually potentially another thing that we can actually explore, right, like people who are just communities, people who are passionate about certain thing, and they want to kind of like work together with like-minded peoples, do proposals, do proposals, voting, right, spending the funds and doing initiatives together. I think even if without a creator, maybe it's not a creator, maybe it's like a board of members, of experts, maybe it's like a environmental panel, which is like expert as like the ones at the top, which are kind of controlling rather than a creator. I guess this kind of system could also work for something like that, right? Because in the end, it's really it's not so much that this is just specifically for creators. It's just that for creators, this is something that we kind of understand the need. But technically, it could work for any community of like-minded people who want to kind of do projects together.
I see. So on I see, I see. So it's basically so much more than, I mean, it starts out, the most evident use case right now is kind of like the creator economy, but it really can be, this is like a kind of like a base fundament, it's almost like a base fundamental of DAOs, right? Which can really
Yeah.
be leveraged in a lot of other use cases beyond simply just the creator token economy. What on a I would love to understand a little bit more on the technical level. I
Yeah.
myself I'm a developer, right? So on the technical
Mm-hmm.
level, I'm familiar. I've been in the crypto space for a while now, and I'm familiar with like the different DAOs that
Yeah.
has come before, from all the way back in the days where uh, what was it? It was R something. Ardent or something like that. Um was the initial, like, kind of like, they created a lot of DAO formats of voting
Mm-hmm.
protocol formats. Then like more modern off-chain voting, when on-chain voting became a bit too expensive, there
Yeah.
were more off-chain voting solutions like Snapshot, right, that
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
helped improve the experience of votes on like DAOs like Uniswap, or DAOs like SushiSwap and the rest of them out there.
Yeah.
What's the underlying technology which powers on a technical level? What does so-called
Yeah,
kind of like
what
offer?
is our platform, right? What's our
Yep.
platform? Yeah, so I think one of the observations that we kind of had, which is something that we already felt this before, but we observed it very acutely during the IreneDAO experiment. And that was that, it's very difficult for the Web2 people to get in. If you look at the IreneDAO, when we launched it, 2 days later, all the major crypto news publications were covering it, right? There was like the Cointelegraph, there was like
Well,
CoinDesk and whatever, and we saw a spike in the number of purchases, right? Once these news were actually they actually came out. But the thing is that, like 4 days, 5 days later, the mainstream news actually started to cover it, right? We had like Vice, we had like New York Times, we had like Nick Shark covering IreneDAO. And the thing was that we did not see any increase in the purchases at all, right? And the thing is that we also noticed from Irene's followers, because a lot of her Web2 followers from like Instagram and all other platforms, they were kind of messaging her like, oh, how does this work? Like, I just set up my Ethereum wallet, I don't know how to do this. How do I join the DAO? What is
yep,
this happening?
yep.
Like, does this have any purpose? So they kind of did not understand how this kind of thing works. And of course, if let's say you have never been in the crypto before, and then suddenly you want to buy something on OpenSea, the learning curve is actually pretty steep, right? You need to install like a extension, you need to like start a wallet, you need to copy a seed phrase, you need to go to Binance, you need to do your verification, your KYC
Yep,
takes
yep.
2 days, and then afterwards you need to buy this, you need to figure out what's gas fees, what is all of these kind of things. It takes such a long time for people to kind of figure out. I mean, for us, we are more experienced, so we know all of these things. But for people who are just starting out on something like that, it can seem very confusing for them. So I think what we wanted to focus on, and this has been our thesis, all of this while, right? Like, if we want to get the mainstream people involved, we need to actually make it a very seamless experience. Because if you think about it, nobody really asks like, what technology Twitter uses, what's the database behind Twitter. People just know that it's like super easy experience for you to log in and post a tweet, right? And the thing is that you don't expect people to understand what is HTTP protocol, what is HTTPS protocol, to be able to use the internet and use apps like that, right? So the thing is that good technology should be invisible to the end user, right? And this is something that we focus a lot on. So for our platform, we're actually building our own layer 2 together with Starkware. So this is the same kind of technology that powers SORAS, the same type of technology that powers DYDX, and the same technology that powers Immutable X, right? So we are building on this technology, and the reason why we're actually doing all of this, building this technology specifically for this, is that we want to make sure that we have a very good onboarding experience. We want to make sure that we have a very good fiat on and off ramp experience, right? And we basically want to abstract away all of these complexities of like setting up your wallet, paying gas fees, and all of these kind of things. Of course, the fees still need to be paid, but the thing is that because we are using like a layer 2 solution, right, with StarkX, it is like a Z-Hero, but we use the Validium method, right? Basically, we kind of like just compute all of these. We kind of like you can think of it like a zip file, right, of all the transactions, and then just submit one proof over to the main Ethereum blockchain. But because we're using a method like this, we're able to kind of keep the cost so low that we can actually absorb all the fees on behalf of the users, and they get to enjoy mostly gas free, except for minting we charge like $1 on our platform. So this kind of changes the whole thing, because right now people can actually use their credit cards to pay. They can deal with USD. If they want to use crypto, they can use USDC. And this basically just completely abstracts away the layer for people who are first time crypto users. I see Jen is again, he kind of disconnected, so I'll just wait a little while for him. Yeah. uh so I'll just wait a little while for Jen.
I apologize.
Yeah, Jen is back.
Zen is back.
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Okay,
the
you're
Twitter
back.
Spaces just keeps bugging out. It seems like we lost Irene as well, unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyway, Irene is not feeling so well recently. She has been a little bit unwell.
Ah,
So
okay,
I don't know if she doesn't join back. I think I think it's fine.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, side note, I'm in San Francisco now, and I'm like the sun is just rising. So it's
I'm sure it's a beautiful
yeah,
sunrise.
yeah. I'm actually at like a pretty nice neighborhood. It was very interesting because I actually went to Miami first for Miami
Mhm,
Hack Week.
mhm.
And from there actually I started meeting a bunch of people. And then this guy that I met, he was like, oh, you should definitely come over to San Francisco, meet some people over here. And like, by the way, I have a community house you can just crash. And I came to the community house. It was like a super nice house. And like these kind of things just happen, right? Just because I haven't been traveling for such a long time, but you just meet somebody and somebody introduce you to somebody
Yep,
else, and then
yep.
introduce somebody else and everything like that. But yeah, I think I have to go back to Singapore first because there's quite a bit to do. So anyway, I think the whole idea is this, right? For a Web3 user, if let's say you have your existing MetaMask wallet, or you have
Yes.
like your existing mobile wallet, hardware wallet, this will feel just like a normal Web3 dApp to you,
Yep.
right? Except that you don't really pay gas fees, because we handle all of these things behind the scenes, right? We
Yep.
kind of absorb all the fees for you. But for a Web 2 user, a first time user, they are actually able to kind of have an experience where this is why we wanted to work with Web3 off, right? Because I think we have the same vision, right? We wanted to make
Yes.
this kind
Yes.
of
Yes.
like wallet setup something that's very, very seamless, make it as easy as people signing up for Instagram, signing up for Twitter, to kind of sign up into the blockchain world. And to them, you see, they can easily create a wallet. They can easily like pay using credit cards, right? They can easily like purchase NFTs. They can easily mint NFTs. They can easily have like a DAO tooling within there, right? Like
Yep.
snapshot voting
Yep.
built into the platform, right?
Yep.
It's basically like like OpenSea plus like a Discord plus like a
hundred
plus like a
percent.
DAO tooling all into one platform. And because it's all into one platform, and you don't really need to kind of figure out like how this wallet works, what is seed phrase, what is gas fees, people can just immediately kind of start using the value and like, okay, this is a way for me to organize my community. This is a way for me to monetize my community, and this is a way for me to kind of like get my community together to make proposals, to make decisions, and things like that, right? Like multi-sigs and all of these kind of things. Basically, it's
Yep.
extremely seamless for a first-time crypto user.
I see. I see. So it's really targeted at the masses here. And the Web
Yeah,
two users. So-called is a platform for people who are really just targeting mainstream. And I guess
yeah,
we help with the key management aspect to that, but
yeah.
everything else and all of the infrastructure afterwards, from the gases transactions and all, as well as chat rooms, and setting things up, is made seamless
By a
with
bunch of
your end and
technologies.
our ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
Starkware as well, if I remember right, right? As
yeah,
the
yeah.
layer
So
two.
Yeah, correct. So we're building our own layer two with Starkware. We're using the technology called StarkX right now, which I mentioned
Yep.
is the same technology that powers SoRare and Immutable X. So I think why we actually wanted to do this, right? Because at the start we were also exploring Immutable X, but I think we wanted to actually create something that was really tailor made for first time crypto users, really
Yep.
tailor made for a social kind of use case, right? So
Yep.
by actually creating our own layer two, we can control the full experience where users directly onboard to layer two, right? They create
Yep.
Ethereum wallet and we immediately onboard them over to layer two. We immediately get started with them to allow them to bring their Instagram accounts over, their TikTok accounts over, and also their Twitter accounts over, right? So
Yep.
this is something that we are kind of developing within in-house, right? It's we're basically trying to build the decentralized ID technology to allow people to kind of bridge their accounts of it. So decentralized ID is basically, you can see of it as like a proof that the owner of this Instagram account is also the owner of this wallet. And instead of like people have been talking about like how do you kind of like move assets and like how do you actually like bridge accounts and things like that, right? So to us we see is like these dynamically generated decentralized IDs, they actually can, because by looking at this you can actually kind of like you can decrypt it and find out that whether or not this actually was minted by the owner of this Instagram account, right? And this actually you can embed it within the metadata of the NFTs, so that even if people actually withdraw the NFTs out of our platform to bring it to OpenSea, for example, because ultimately it's a Ethereum blockchain, right? You want to bring it anywhere, we can't stop you. You want to bring it to OpenSea, you don't want to use our platform for whatever reason, you want to bring it to another dApp, you can do it, right? But even if you do so, we wanted to make sure that like these things can be authenticated, these things can be verified. Yeah, so
Yep.
so these are some of the other things, and also we're partnering with a lot of other partners to like to basically make the on and off ramp also very seamless, right?
Yep.
One interesting thing is that we can actually deal with USD because of the kind of model that we're actually working on. So
Mm-hmm.
and of course I think Jen, you shared a little bit more about like the buying NFTs with no
Definitely.
KYC kind of thing, which is very interesting for us as well. Yeah.
Yep, yep. I mean, so for those of you who don't know, like when you're dealing with fungible tokens, so for example, just standard crypto and direct crypto purchases, the when you want to purchase it via credit card, Mastercard and Visa just call the shots, and they say, you must use to have KYC if you want to like if you're doing crypto purchases. But because non-fungible tokens are considered goods and services, or they aren't classified in the same class, and you can therefore like not go through KYC on a much higher transaction limit. So MoonPay, for example, has a solution which under 5K, it doesn't require KYC on the purchase of NFT. For that leverages on this not loophole, but this kind of like difference in legalities. Um, so so
Yeah.
we've spoken a lot about how so-called technology speeds things up, how it's gasless, how it's on layer two
Yeah,
built on
it's
Starkware,
mm-hmm.
um, and 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 it's and that's fantastic so far. What would you say are and every startup faces hurdles as we go through things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say are your biggest kind of like hurdles to mainstream adoption and to the next to your next magnitude of success?
Yeah, so I think this thing that we're building over here, right? I think one of the most important things in terms of the technology aspect, because I talk a lot about the product aspect, right? Is that I think if you have asked me like 3 months or 6 months ago, if this kind of thing was possible to have a complete Web3 app where it's like a fully Web2 like experience behind this, like for the front end, while still having the full security of the blockchain, I would say like 6 months ago this would not be possible because a lot of the technology and whatever was just not ready, right? To kind of have like a full Web 2 like experience. I think what we're doing is that we're having the first we're kind of like the first people to actually build all of these technologies puzzles together, right? Building a powerful layer 2, building like all of these decentralized IDs, having all of these on and off brand experience. All of these things only recently came together in the past, and obviously it's not that we are super good, right? We're working with very good partners, like of course Web3 Auth and also with Starkware, which has done a lot of work for us before that, right? As in they've done a lot of work before that, and we are just like kind of leveraging the technology and building on top of that. In terms of the things that we're seeing from Web 2 audience, right? I think the biggest thing is their kind of sentiment towards crypto, their sentiment towards NFTs, right? So I think this is just another bigger observation that I kind of had, because okay, I'm not like super old and like super OG in crypto. I only came in 2016. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been in the space for much longer than I am, right? But I think the sentiment towards crypto and NFTs is that for a very long time it seems to people, right, that the only use case of crypto was to get rich, right, to make more money. If you look at like DeFi, you look at like most of the crypto and like making new coins or whatever, the whole purpose of that has really been like how do I use my crypto to make more crypto, right? And a lot of times, because you have to pay miner fee and everything like that, the total amount of money that goes in versus the total money that goes out, the money that goes out is necessarily smaller than the total amount of money that goes in. So this kind of gives people the kind of view that crypto is a Ponzi, because in the end the money that goes in has to come out, and the money that comes out is just smaller than that, right? I think for a very long time, it has been DeFi was very, very popular, because I think DeFi, people found out that like, okay, this is a better way to manage my money, but it was still really a way for people to kind of use crypto to make more crypto. And we have seen a lot of kind of flavors of it. We have seen like play to earn, we have seen like other kind of Web3 social tokens and things like that. But all of them were really just like, a lot of them they were really just wrappers around DeFi. You have like staking, you have like play to earn, which is just it's just like, because in the end, if you want to kind of exit, you still have to sell your play to earn items that you earn through the game to somebody else
Yep.
who wants to play the game,
Yep.
right? So in the end, it has really been DeFi with all different kinds of flavors, until I think NFT really came out. And I think NFT was a more interesting thing, because if you look at like luxury goods, right, this is the reason why people buy like watches. This is why people buy cars, right? But the thing is, the NFTs are actually way better, because nowadays we spend a lot more time. Our digital our digital presence is actually more important than our physical presence, right? People spend so much money on a watch, because they want to kind of have it as like a social signal, not just social signal, but like sometimes it's like you want to show that you're part of a community. You are like a collector of this watch, you're like a collector of this car, you enjoy this kind of style and everything like that. I think NFTs is a natural extension to that, and this is why luxury goods exist. But the thing is that if you look at right now, for most of the audience, right, the general public, most of them don't really afford luxury goods in the first place. I mean,
Yep.
for general public, they don't even afford luxury goods. Not everybody buys like sports cars and like Gucci and like LV all the time. So a lot of them, they kind of feel left out, and they kind of don't understand. It's the same thing. It's like the same kind of criticism, right? So if you look at like people who buy a Gucci T-shirt for like $700, and people are like, "Wow, this T-shirt is so cheap." It's like why do you spend it on that? I
And
can
I
spend
think
like
and I
$10
think this
on that.
sentiment has really evolved in the Twitter space and the
Yeah,
gaming Twitter space as well. Like the anti NFT sentiment, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean there are better ways of doing it other than just
Mm-hmm.
being like cash grabs.
Yeah,
Um
no, it's
so
not about cash grab, right? It's the thing is that the way that the criticism, actually, as in the criticism are very valid, because if you think about it, it's the same people who are saying like, why would anybody pay $700 for a T-shirt, who are saying like, why would people pay $10,000 for an NFT, right? It's the same kind of criticism, which has always existed, because people always had the problem understanding luxury goods and the kind of like social signaling and things that come along with the luxury goods, right? I think right now what we've kind of seen is that this way that we're doing things is that we are putting the community aspect of it first, and then the
Yep.
kind of like a luxury good type of thing, like digital luxury goods, as a secondary thing. Right, and this is something that we are trying to prove over here, with IreneDAO and also with Soko. And one of the things that actually kind of hinders it is that, the gas fees on Ethereum, right, and the whole way to kind of get in is kind of prohibitive, because if you have so much gas fees, you're paying like $100+ for every transaction.
Yep.
The things that you can sell obviously has to be a lot more expensive than $100+. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense that most of it goes into the transaction fee.
Yep.
Which is why we feel that it's not just about user experience, but also economic reasons, where we can actually do $1 mints, and this actually opens up the possibility for a lot of different kinds of NFTs that general public can enjoy, and general public, they feel that they can buy, they can sell, they can trade.
Mm-hmm. 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 Um
yeah, so I guess that was about getting over like the anti-NFT sentiment in kind of like some mainstream cliques like the gaming community as well as others, and it's really about kind of like uh would you say would you say it's I mean, one thing is you mentioned again lowering the barrier to entry will fix this, right? But you also mentioned a sentiment where you're like saying, um, like there will always be people who don't really understand social signaling, right? And NFTs in an
Yeah,
aspect.
luxury goods.
So,
I mean, yeah.
so, so do we just like what do you think that if do you think lowering the entry of barrier the barrier to entry would help these people understand, or do you think these
No, no,
people
no,
should
no,
just
no.
be kind of like ignored, or like what would you think
No,
we should just
it's
how yeah
yeah, yeah. It's not about ignoring them or whatever, right? It's just that these people, like the same people who say like, why will you spend $700 on a T-shirt? Now they also say like, why are you spending $10,000 on a JPEG, right? I mean,
mm-hmm.
this has always been the case, and people always have had struggle to kind of and understand luxury goods. Most of them kind of understand, but that is if let's say all of these people basically they make all of this outrage, they are also kind of part of the product, right? For the luxury goods space at least, right? Because all of like that's why look at all these like top fashion brands. They're basically doing all of these very bold statements because they understand this whole idea, right, about
That's true.
luxury goods.
That's definitely
Yeah,
true. That's definitely true.
yeah.
So
So
I've
so
always
so
like
yeah, yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
haters actually make it a plus value to it. It's kind of like in a way it's kind of it's kind of like it solidifies the identity of purchasing NFT. Like you may
Yeah,
not believe
yeah.
it, but I do believe it.
Yeah, because if you look at like for example like Gucci, right? If nobody knew about Gucci at all, nobody knows about the brand. You wear it out, nobody will get it. But you see, because they did very outrageous things, especially like Balenciaga and all these kind, right? They do like really outrageous kind of clothes and like things that like people are just so outraged about. And because they're actually able to kind of trigger such a good response, now by wearing something out, you actually get associated with like how cool you are, and everybody knows about it
So
and things like that.
so
But yeah, yeah.
the anti NFT sentiments could actually be indicators that like
No, no, no. Actually,
NFTs are just
I
purely becoming more mainstream.
no, no, no. Okay, this is the thing. I don't think it should be anti NFT. It has always been anti luxury goods, right? But it doesn't have to be anti
Right,
NFT. So if you look at
right, right.
if you look at the fashion market, because since we are in this parallel, right? Let's continue talking about that. So the thing is that you have a market for luxury goods. You also have like your average H&M and your Zara and whatever that you can kind of buy clothes over there. The thing is that right now there just isn't this kind of like affordable kind of thing, right, for people to kind of really get into it, just because of
Yep.
cost fees. The costs are prohibitive, and just denominating everything in ETH, just kind of like, I don't know, the it's just magic, right? You're just suddenly you're willing to spend like 0.2 ETH, but you're not willing to spend like $100 or something. Like the way that people kind
Yep.
of think of it is just very different. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that look, it doesn't have to be NFT. The only thing is that right now, for the only purpose of NFT, like the only products within NFT space is the luxury goods. So people are kind of confusing the criticism of luxury
I
goods
see. I see.
as a criticism of
It's
NFTs.
because the I see your point now. So because NFT goods right now are really just so expensive at this point, it's prohibitive to anybody else who wants to participate in it, and therefore lowering the barrier to entry really does help here
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's not just for like super
in
big
expanding its use
celebrities to kind
cases.
of do it, right? If let's say a 10,000 follower Instagram model with like 10,000 followers, or maybe like a small community, maybe it's like a university investment club, maybe it's a special interest group. They want to kind of
Yeah.
create their own membership NFTs. These are the kind of like the average things that people can kind of get, right? This is not something that you really
Yep.
kind of flex around and you
Yep.
social signal and whatever. But these are kind
Yep.
of use cases that will become possible the moment you kind of
I
make it
see.
more
I see. I
accessible
see. That
and
makes a
lower
lot of
cost.
sense.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. And so-called enables these kind of like more simple, almost use cases. Not by any means less important, but just more simple use cases almost.
yeah, exactly. Like the more everyday use cases that people can actually participate in. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. What would you say? I mean, you've got a lot on your plate at this point. You're kind of you guys just launched IreneDAO. The platform is on it had its MVP and not MVP but kind of like POC, and it's
Mm-hmm.
coming and it's being fleshed out into the next wave of features. What is this next wave of features, and what can we be expecting from SoCal in the next
Yeah.
3 months?
Yeah, so we already kind of like the first thing that we kind of worked on was the decentralized ID and allowing people to kind of bridge their identities over.
Yep.
This part is done. TikTok is still not giving us our API, but we'll keep trying. We'll try to get TikTok to give us the API. But at the meantime, we still have an Instagram API, we still have Twitter API where we can kind of link their accounts and bridge it over to Web3, right?
Yep.
The next thing that we're working on right now is like a Discord. So I think right now, if you look at how we actually did IreneDAO, right, we need to kind of deploy a contract, we need to register with OpenSea. People need to buy in on OpenSea. They need to go to the Discord. They need to kind of verify themselves on Collab Land, and then need to go to Snapshot to kind of do the voting, the proposals, and things like that.
Yep.
So even for a Web3 user, it is kind of inconvenient. They kind of go to so many different platforms and kind of I mean, it wasn't a purpose-built tool for this kind of things, right? It was kind of like Discord was meant to be a gaming chat, and it slowly evolved, and then people kind of created bots and things like that to make this into a place where people operate their DAOs, right?
Yep.
What we're trying to do over here is that this is a more purpose-built tool where it is like, you have a marketplace directly inside. You want to kind of buy NFTs with no gas fees, right? You want to okay, get no gas fees is a very misleading thing because somebody has to pay the gas. We pay the
Yep.
gas for you, but the thing is that it's
Yep.
cheap enough that we can kind of absorb the cost of that. So I
Yep.
just want to clarify that. So yeah, so for the user, no gas fees for the user, right? You can kind of buy, sell, trade within the marketplace. Immediately you can start to use it. You can spend it for like utility. You can also just take it and then use it to access gated channels. You can be part of that. We also want to build like the DAO tooling directly inside of it, right? So maybe like the voting, the snapshot like voting, we're gonna have it directly within the platform, integrated within the chat, right? So these are the kind of things that we're building right now. I would say we are like halfway through the Discord kind of portion where we're kind of doing like gated feeds, gated chats, and things like that. For
Yep.
people who are the pass holders. This is something that we're currently working on, and in parallel, we are also kind of like discussing and working with Starkware to kind of work on the layer 2 solution that we're going to deploy, right? And this is something
Yep.
that we expect to be completed, by early March. And with that, we're actually able to, all of the NFTs on our platform will be proper NFTs on Ethereum. People can actually withdraw it. For some reason, if let's say they don't want to stay on our platform, they want to bring the OpenSea, they're completely free to do so, right? So I think that's the beauty of the blockchain. Anybody can just it's a shared database. Anybody can just build applications on top of
Yep.
that.
Yep. So is March then when we can expect the next
No, actually,
kind of like iteration
we
of
are
tools?
ready.
So
Yeah, we are already starting. We are already talking to a few influencers, influencers, creators, and all kinds of them. We're actually working with them on some of these NFT collections because a lot of people, they once it's heard of IreneDAO, some people, they had knee jerk reaction and they kind of say that, oh, IreneDAO is stupid. It's like just Irene selling her photos for money. But those people who actually kind of look a little bit more into it and find out that actually we have a whole vision, with a whole company, and a whole platform that we're building, right? And this is just a proof of concept. Some people came and contact us and they kind of asked like, okay, how do I get started with things like these, right? And we're actually working with a few like big creators from different platforms, right? Different purposes like fashion, like maybe just lifestyle, right? All of these kind of people, we are kind of working with them to plan out their NFT strategy, like what kind of NFTs do they want to do, how would they kind of like interact with their audience, what kind of value do they want to provide, and things like that. I think even at a very early stage, and maybe within the next 1 to 2 weeks, we already have like some basic Discord clone kind of thing, right? That's within the same platform. So I think
yep.
this is something that we can actually start doing, where people can buy and sell their collectibles, right? Buy and sell their social collectibles, buy and sell their premium collectibles. These are the two kinds of collectibles on our platform, and they can already start to like use this platform. I think one thing that's very important is that right now, because we kind of have a view of like how a platform like this should be optimized for someone like
Yep.
Irene, right? But Irene is a like a lifestyle influencer, and right now she's also like a little bit more as like a thought leader within Twitter. So her use case is going to be
Yep.
different from the use cases of people who are within different industries, and we just want to make sure that we kind of cover all of the kind of different use case. We want to get a whole diverse group of creators to make sure that all of their needs are met within the platform. So it's more
Yep.
like a build together kind of thing, and we kind of also reward them for joining in early. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Yep. 100%. I see. So lots to expect, it seems. A pipeline of kind of other influencers coming on board as well, and really designing it for them. The Discord chat rooms, a couple more things. The layer 2 coming out in March. Wow,
Yep.
it's really action packed, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is Web3, right? Web3, you have to move super fast.
Yes,
Every like one
1
day
month
in
is
Web3 is like, yeah,
it really
yeah,
is the
yeah.
case. I can feel the eye bags under my eyes. So I think we've been talking for about an hour at this point, right? And I think it'd be good to perhaps open the floor to anybody who might want to ask any questions to either myself or Ben, the co-founder of SoCall. Um, Anybody who wants, is there anybody who might want to ask a question? If so, can you request to speak? And Adi, could you let them in if they would like to?
Sure.
Is there anybody? Anybody wants to ask any questions at all?
You guys can request to be a speaker and send us a request and we can accept it here.
So it doesn't seem like there's any questions from the floor at this point in time. Ben, would you like to leave us with any closing notes?
Yeah, okay. I'll just leave on a closing note. I think there were a lot of new people that joined and previously. I think a lot of people when they first look at IreneDAO, there is a lot of people kind of dismiss it, right? As like oh, it's just a cash grab, or it's just like somebody selling photos. But I think hopefully this talk, and I think what we shared just now kind of helps to explain a little bit the vision behind what we're doing. And also like how we actually envision the social space and also the NFT space moving forward. Yeah. So I think for us it's really more about sending a message, right? It's more about sending a message and proving what the future of the creator economy could look like. And I think if let's say we achieve this goal and basically open this up, make it more accessible to everybody, all of us over here we win, because all of us we are like trying to spread the same message, right? We are trying to get people into crypto. We want to let them see that this is something that can be a force for good. This is something that can be something that can help people in their everyday lives, which is what we're trying to prove over here. Yeah,
100%. Enabling NFTs, and actually just more than NFTs, like the social creator economy plus by lowering the barrier of entry into crypto and allowing for more simple use cases. I think that's really so cool. And I think that's a mission that we can really us all aspire to.
So we have Francis actually, and before we plan to end, Francis has a question to ask.
Hi, good morning,
Hey, Francis.
Hey, John.
Hi.
Hey, Ben.
Morning.
Hey, morning. I'm also calling from San Francisco as well, and Ben and I talked with you actually a few yesterday. So I actually have a question because I really love the vision of what SoCo and IreneDAO is doing. Is different NFTs have different genres of market. So fashion NFTs, toy NFTs, world NFTs. There's different genres. So are you seeing this SoCo as a way to kind of curate different spatial and digital elements of the metaverse? Because I think that's the challenge, is that when you are following a fan, you're also like an influencer, you're following their world, right? And they might wear different like virtual worlds, toys. Is this sort of a way to help curate all these digital physical elements together and provide a sense of ownership together? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think the way to kind of see us, right, is that what we're trying to build over here is a platform. So when Instagram first came out, the kind of things that the limitations was that you have to post a square image, and then it has to be images only. Everything must be an image. You cannot just post text, things like that, right? So I think along from there, like once they started allowing people to kind of post any image they want, they allow people to kind of like have the flexibility, very easy to kind of post images. People kind of started diverging, right? Like you said, there are some people who are going to do different kind of genres. Some people end up becoming lifestyle influencers. Some people were food bloggers and they were like posting pictures of food. I mean, eventually we have like videos and other things like that, right? Then some people are dance influencers and so on and so forth. Some people are like more technical as well. They kind of do like 3D art or something like that. But you see, the thing about the platform is that and I think this is the beauty of it, right? Is that you give people a way to kind of do whatever they want, in a sense, right? Creative expression, creative freedom. If let's say you look at the NFTs on our platform, on one hand we have some where we actually bring the social content over, But on the other hand, we also want to create the infrastructure to allow people to kind of very easily create NFT collections, create NFT collections that have utility on their own means, right? They want to decide, okay, this NFT gives me access to this gated channel. How do I want to create content for this gated channel? Or do I want to allow people to kind of like, do I want to do live stream and then only allow my inner circle members to join, or I allow like all everybody to join, but inner circle gets to actually participate more with it? What kind of NFT do I want to make? Do I make it like a 3D model? Do I want to make it like a fashion NFT? Something like that, right? But the whole idea is this: we give people the platform, and we let people kind of decide how they want to create value. I think this is a big step up from the existing methods, because right now, if you look at the different ways that people
For Tasty
monetize, the
Bones.
creators
So
monetize, right? On
make
Twitch, they're
sure
kind of
that
like
that's like its
fixed towards
own
something where like,
thing
okay, if
that
you
we
live
run, like
stream, then this is
he's
the way that
only.
you kind of make money, right? On let's say Patreon, is like, okay, is that a Kickstarter kind of model, plus like, it's also the subscription kind of model where you kind of give the creator like a stable recurring income and things like that, right? So we don't want to kind of restrict that, and I think we don't have to restrict that, because the ways that people can provide value is very diverse, and we give them the infrastructure to create what they want to create and how they want to provide value.
I love that answer. It's kind of like a swap and remixing of different like genres and curation techniques that probably didn't exist in Web 2, because you mentioned, hey, how do you mix live stream with like fashion, or live stream with 3D models? And right now there's no way to like remix those methods or manage it in a way that works for each individual. So I just love that approach. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the question, Francis. Um, and on that note, we are coming to a close. Thanks so much, Ben, for joining us today. For those of you who want to follow SoCal and updates, they are always on Twitter. You can follow Ben himself or Irene. Um, we host this Twitter space every 2 weeks or so, where we get interesting people in the Web3 space doing interesting things, and and uh, and and most of them use Web3 off, the ones that we talk to. So for those of you out there who want to follow Web3 off as well and have more of this, do follow us at our Twitter channel as well, or our socials too. And have a good rest of the day, Ben. Thanks so much for
Yeah, thank you.
coming on. By the way, it's
Yeah.
like 7:30 a.m. I think on your
Yeah.
side, Francis and Ben. So thanks so much for taking the time so early in the morning out of your busy schedules. And for everybody else, for everybody in the more Asian regions, good night. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jen. Thanks,
Cheers,
Letitia.
guys.
Yep. All right.
Until
Cheers.
next time. See
Yep.
y'all.
Bye.